Ooh, today's been a day, and I just felt like I needed to record a video because, to be honest with you, I haven't had a bad day like this in quite a while. The last year and a half has been truly magical. I got married, and although I had to deal with the loss of friendships and some hard things, for the most part, my life has been extremely magical. But if you hate me right now for saying that, stay tuned. I have some toothpaste on my lip here because my life has been horrible today. It's been an absolute nightmare. My husband put some of his savings into a really nice car at the beginning of the year because he's always wanted a Porsche, and he decided he wanted to Turo his car. And so he looked really carefully for the best deal, and he found this beautiful white Porsche with red interior that he just absolutely loved, and he bought it with his really hard-earned money. He worked for 22 years in the federal government protecting us and had some money saved, and so he used that towards this car that he was going to invest and put on Turo and send out. People could rent it and we could earn money from it. And he did it for several months and was really successful at it. And he had a lot of people that rented his car and they really loved it. He took a lot of pride in, reaching out to them and making sure they were happy and making sure they left him a good review and, keeping the maintenance up on it and just like cleaning it and really trying to take pride in this car that was his investment. And so he decided a couple weeks ago that he wanted to maybe flip this car and sell it and get another one and then use the funds for some other investments that he has going. And so he posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and he got a message from a buyer that seemed really interested and said that, he's been looking around for this white with the red interior for a really long time. And then he wanted to buy the car. So my husband said, well, I'll meet you at my bank and we can make sure everything is kosher. He gets to the bank, and I don't know all the ins and outs of what happened, but suffice it to say that at some point in the exchange, the guy that was interested in the car went behind the vehicle. He said he was looking for something under the bottom area carpeting of the back, just to make sure that there was no damage, like where the spare tire would be kept. And during that time, he dumped oil into the rear exhaust pipe. And at some point while my husband was in the bank, as he was arriving to meet him, he dumped oil in the front hood of the car and clipped a wire so that the check engine light would come on. And then he came up to my husband in the driver's seat and said, hey, let's take this on a test drive. And so they did. They took it on a test drive. And during the test drive, the car started smoking, and the man started freaking out, professing he was a mechanic. And to pull over, my husband didn't know what was going on because his beloved car was overheating and smoking, and oil was falling out of the back exhaust pipe. And the man dramatically and very convincingly told him that it looked like his engine had blown up, and his engine had blown. And my husband was just shocked. He was devastated. He was scared. He didn't know what was going on. My husband is not a sucker. He's a German Shepherd husband. He's very astute to his surroundings. He keeps us safe. He's not a sucker. He doesn't trust people. I mean, honestly, he's really good for me in that regard because he kind of offsets my naivete and willingness to trust anybody. He doesn't trust anybody, and he certainly would not be easily scammed. But this man was so convincing that he convinced him by the end of this several hours long ruse that my husband's car engine had blown up, and my husband's seeing smoke come out of the hood, out of the exhaust pipe, dripping out of the exhaust pipe. And it was very dramatic, and he told my husband he would pay him a fraction of what the car was worth because he had a friend who could replace the engine for cheap, so he was going to tow it to his house. And my husband felt like, well, I have to take his offer, because if I don't, I'm going to be left with this car that has a blown out engine. I can't afford to replace the engine, so I should just get what I can for the car. And so he called me on the way home in an Uber. He had signed the title over to this man, to this fraudster, for a fraction of what the car was worth. Confused, feeling in his gut like something was wrong. And I did a quick ChatGPT search and found that this is a scam that is happening in Southern California. It happened as recently as March 2025. There was a news story done on it. So I immediately called him and said, you need to go back and try to get this man and like reconnect with him. And so he did. He called him, and the man was like, I would never scam you. I'm an honest person. You know, if you want me to bring the car back, I will. But, you know, I'm a mechanic and I would never do this to you. Meanwhile, I'm calling the police department and trying to report a fraud. I at first tried to report it stolen because these people created this false situation and messed with our vehicle. And so we, under duress, thought that the car was damaged. And so we sold it under duress. And I explained this to the police officer, and he said, there's nothing we can do, ma'am. You sold him the car. So my husband tried to talk to him throughout the duration of the day, and every turn this man had excuses. First, he said that he couldn't get a tow truck, so he tied a rope from my husband's Porsche to his car and towed it back to his house, and didn't know how he was going to get it to my husband because it wasn't running. And not only was the check engine light on, but it was on fire. And so my husband waited there in a dark parking lot in a bad area, waiting for this man to come meet him, and he never came. And my husband's Ubering home right now to meet me, devastated. So I want to warn you of that fraud that is out there. Be really super careful. There are so many frauds now at every turn. You've just got to be vigilant, and you've got to listen to your gut. I think what's hard is it's hard to listen to your gut when you're completely dysregulated and traumatized because your car's on fire. But these people are really good at their scams, and it's just a really, really sad night for us.